Hello, welcome to the session. Today I'm going to talk around some of the tooling that we can use to augment existing diagrams that we've created previously. I'm going to look at specifically the box impact layer, the horizon, and also the custom text callout. To facilitate that, I'm going to use some pages I previously prepared with some applications laid out on the page from the record sets down here, and with the data brought in from those applications. So looking at the first option around a box impact layer. So box impact layer puts an outline either all the way around or a rectangle or one of the sides effectively around the shape to denote a set of value or a value that shape has from some attribute within the data. So let's just demonstrate that. So if I'm looking at application 1 tab, which is this tab here, it's linked to the application set of data. That's the data that's going to be used to match the shape to, and to then match the impact column. So it's brought in the values for that down here. So we can go ahead and select that. So that's the name. That's what we're going to match the actual value on the shape to the value in the record set. We want the impact column. In this instance, we're going to choose a simple value host modeling. As soon as I've selected that, it's brought up some extra data, and we'll come to that in a minute. It's also prompted me for an impact description, of which I haven't in the data set got a description that's associated with the impact, so I'm going to leave that blank. A field I missed up the top here was giving a name to the impact layer. So we're going to call this hosting model for want of another name, and that's going to create a layer, a Visio layer of all the outlines that are drawn on the page, which allows us to hide or show that if you know, which is useful if you've got multiple layers on the same page. You can obviously only show, well, you could show up to 4 layers because you can put just the boundary around the edge. But if you had 4 rectangles, then you wouldn't be able to show multiple layers. I'm going to increase the width of this is the size of the outline. I'll make it slightly bigger. You can make it bigger or smaller. That means it will stand out more. And then down the bottom here is where the association is. So once I'd selected the hosting model from the applications record set, it scanned through all the unique values and gave me a drop-down list of the unique values. So in here I've got on-premise, externally hosted and cloud hosted, and here on the left hand side of operators you can use in that evaluation. So you can say not equal to, greater than, equals to, etc. The only one of note would be the percentage. A percentage actually requires a numeric value in here rather than a text value. So what the numeric value for the percentage is will actually fill up the shape with a percentage of that color, depending on what percentage is in here. These are all going to be equal to, so I'm going to change this back to equal, make these equal. So now we've got a set of data. We can change the color maybe so that it's a little bit more meaningful or stands out a little bit more, and then we can just press OK, and that's going to draw the those boxes around that. First off, it's going to put together the stencil, the legend, and then it's going to draw the outlines depending on the value that's in the hosting model column. Let that just finish. We're nearly there. Okay, once that's done, we can exit out. A couple of things, you'll notice a couple haven't been populated, and that will be because they're blank. There's no hosting model expressed, whereas these are the ones which had a value. And going back to my comment earlier, if we go home here and we go to layers, properties, we've now added this hosting model as a layer in here, and we can apply and hide it. Notice when I hide it, it hides all around there. It doesn't hide the legend because we haven't added it to the layer. That's done because if you had multiple layers, you may want to use the same, it updates the same legend to hold multiple details effectively. You'll also notice here that this is locked. What that means is if you actually want to remove the layer, you're going to have to unlock it. It's locked so that it keeps it in position with the and doesn't get overridden. So I'm just going to apply that again so we can see that. So that's the impact layer in simplistic terms, and you can, as I said, you can have multiple layers on the same diagram. The next item I'm going to look at is Custom Text Callout. So I'm going to use the same set of applications, just a duplicate copy of that. Again, they're linked to the same application record. But in this case, creating a custom text callout isn't linked directly to the data to start with. Effectively, you need to create an actual icon and the data associated with that icon independently of where you're going to apply it to, and then we use native Visio capability to apply it. So I'll just take you through that. This works slightly differently to a standard one because you're actually linking this to the data up front, so it's created effectively at the same time as creating the shape. So let me just show this as an example. I'm going to use a column in the application data to use to represent this. I'm going to use the business fitness column, and I'm going to call this business fitness so that it is understandable. And when you have the drop-down list of shapes, it will create you some different shapes, and it prompts you for the sizes of those shapes that you want to create. By default, anything which is sort of, a square will obviously gives you dimensions of a square. Pentagon those shapes will all be even. Rectangle obviously slightly different, but you can adjust them. So a diamond shows up as a sort of diamond shape, traditional diamond shape, but you can elongate it. I'm going to do that in this case to have an elongated diamond. So that's going to draw you a diamond effectively on the diagram, or will do once it's associated with, we'll come to later. Next bit though, you've got to associate it with the actual data. So in this instance, this business fitness has values from I think 0 to 5, let's just say, or 1 to 5. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, depending on what the value is, it's less than, equal to or less than 1, 2, 3, and we just go down 4, and less than or equal to 5. Then depending on those values, it will use a different color effectively. I'm going to leave these colors as they are, but you can change them. Maybe I'll just change that one. Maybe we want to make it a slightly more distinct color in there. In an icon set, you can only have a maximum of 5 items, so hence this is restricted to 5 values that you can have. That's a limitation within Visio. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to click OK. Now, nothing happens at that point in time, but if I go up to here and I go to data graphics and I go to create a data graphics, which is standard functionality, and I go to a new item, I can then, now it's asking me what I want to select, and I use the fitness column. Next thing it's going to ask me is what type I want to do. Now we've created this is based upon a text call out. So I select text. It's going to bring out a list of styles, of which one of them is the one that we've just created. So I did create one earlier, but this is the one I have just created with the diamond, stretch diamond. So that's the shape. You can apply formatting. If you specify this is, it will show you the complete text, but say you only just wanted to show the first letter or the first couple of digits, you can actually change that from 0 to 2 or 3. So you may only have limited space, and you say, well, actually the first 3 characters will be enough to show it. Also, you probably want to vary the position from the default. So I want this in the bottom right hand corner, so I'm going to select right and I'm going to select bottom, and then that means by default that's going to appear in the right hand corner. Now I'm going to say OK to that. I'm going to say OK to that. Now it's asking me, do I want to apply it to the shape that I've selected. I've actually got one selected up here. Say OK. It's going to apply that. Now unfortunately I want to apply, or I actually want to apply it to a lot of shapes, so I'm actually just going to do that and select all of those and apply it to all. So what you now can see is the fact that it's based upon the values. It's showing the diamond, different color, and the values are shown as well. So that's slightly different to a standard inbuilt Visio either icon set that you can create, or text callout. It sort of combines the two things together into one type. Okay, so that's text callout. The last item I was going to cover off in this is converting to horizon, a diagram to horizon. Now to do this, I'm going to use the same actual set that we've just created here of data, so app2. Now, horizon diagram is best explained if I actually go through and show you what to do, and then it'll be self-evident then. So we're looking at app2. What a horizon diagram will put and uses that same sort of border connotation effectively, or to illustrate different status upon different horizons. Now these are the default horizons. You can edit those and change the names of those. You can add in more horizons. You can reduce the number of horizons. So there's choices there. And again, for your values of stages, you can have increase and reduce the number by adding or minusing them, and you can change the name of what they're called, and you can change the color that's associated with them. So, you know, we may just choose to change that to randomly. I'm going to change that into cerise type color. So the other item up here is you can specify a weighting for the line to draw around the border, or you can actually use the actual same size of the border line that's around the shape, and it will default to that when it's drawing that. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to leave the names as is, and we'll just run through like that. So if I press OK, it's going to go through the diagram, and by default everything is going to default to existing. Okay, so once we've done that though, we can now start to change some of that. So say I wanted these several shapes. Say I want to change, and I'm going to select stages for the shape. Say I now want to specify some different stages. So basically it knows it's got 3 stages, and it knows the values, and it's giving me a drop down. So I don't want them to appear in the current state. I want them to be implementing in a transitional state, and I want them existing in the end. And I'm going to select those and press OK. Now immediately I've done that they've all disappeared. The reason why is if you right click on the page, the current horizon is current, and we said doesn't exist in current. So basically when it doesn't exist, it hides that. That is the one value which is sort of fixed in there, that it sort of says, well, you can change the name, but the value of the first entry is always one that doesn't exist. But if I changed it to transition state, suddenly they appear, because the transition state, you know, they should be being implemented effectively. And I can go and select some more shapes here, and you can select, you know, individual ones, or you can do them collectively. I'm going to select some more, and for this we're going to say it exists to start with, it's been retiring, and then it doesn't exist because it's gone. So once I've selected that, if then I go to, I don't know, target state, they're going to not show. The others are shown and these don't show. So you can see what's happening here effectively is, depending on in the state you want to show, you can visualize, hide and show shapes effectively. There is the ability to show all shapes, and what that does is basically overrides the status to just show everything at that point in time. And that's useful, especially if you're working on things. The other item to point out is, if you right click on an individual shape, you can set what the value for current state for the individual shape is. So if in current state is changing, and maybe in transition state it's existing, and maybe in target state it's retiring, yeah. So again, individually you can set individual shapes as well. So there's either do them in bulk or do them individually. Okay, so that concludes this looking at horizon. Hopefully that's been useful. Lastly, there is a convert to container tool as well. So convert to container takes a normal shape and converts it into a container shape. Now, to do that, I'm just going to use, because these are all converted, I'm just going to randomly choose a maybe some general shapes, some basic shapes, stencil. So I'm going to take that stencil, and then I'm going to select convert to container. Convert to container now asks me which stencil, so it knows the list of stencils that are attached. This is the basic one, that happens to be its internal name. So you can select that, and now it's listed all the names of the shapes that are there. So I'm just going to select rectangle and circle, and they are going to get changed to a container, but it will create a new stencil instance at the same time. Okay, that took longer than usual. Not quite sure, as my system's probably running a bit slow. So just by way of demonstrating that, now if I take that shape there and drop that in, it's a container. You can see it's now accepted something like that, and I think what was the other one was the circle. So if I take circle and I drop a shape in, so you can see it's created a new thing. You'll still need to make sure, I think it does save it by default, but if I went back to the original shape and I try to drop a shape into that, you notice it's not going to, it doesn't recognize it as being a container in any sense. So there's a demonstration of being able to change one or multiple shapes within a stencil. In fact, the whole stencil you can change to a to containers. The only thing it won't change to containers if it's a one-dimensional shape, which probably these parentheses at the bottom are. It will only do a two-dimensional shape and convert that to a container. that concludes this overview. Thank you very much.